Hi, this is Cecilia from Tarot by Cecilia, and this is your Love and Finance Tarot guidance for the month of May 2016. Every time the word May comes from my mouth this week, I'm like, wow, can it really be? It's amazing what's been going on and that we're already into May. I'm just so surprised. Now, let's talk about this month here for a little bit, all right? This month, on the 27th, and I'm just going to jump all over here, Mars will backtrack into Scorpio. Remember, it's currently retrograde, okay? So it's going to go back into Scorpio before it goes direct again at the end of June. Now, Mercury, yes, Mercury is retrograde as this month begins, has been for a couple of days, and it will go direct on the 22nd, not to leave shadow until June the 7th, all right? Pluto remains retrograde through September 26th. Jupiter, okay, now here's the thing. You've been hearing all this hype, how it's been 10 years since there were 5 planets that were retrograde at the same time. This is the good news. This is the positive news, because Jupiter is kind of known as the good luck planet. So on the 9th, that's not so far into the month, Jupiter goes direct. Yay, we'll be down to 4. All right, so you see, before the month is over, it'll be back to, just a couple. So that's not so bad. Think of it that way. Now, Saturn remains retrograde. That's until August. All right, now you have a new moon on May the 6th. All right, that will be in Taurus. And a full moon on May 21st in Sagittarius. Now let's see what we got going on with the cards here. The month starts with something that you've been hoping for. Whether you're aware of it or not, if you were wishing for it, and it begins, like, as the month begins. So it could be anything. Just know that it's here to help alleviate the stress. And you finally feel like you kind of can make a couple choices, like it's like you can breathe again. So there's more than one thing coming in here too with regard to wishes. I feel like there's something special that comes in this week, aside from whatever you already know. It could be anything, folks. Wow. But then, like I said, you feel like you have to choose some things. And a lot of it is choosing direction now, okay? Because you can see that your direction has changed, and you know that it's necessary to make choices. Because you still feel like you're juggling a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, trying to just leave that old behind. You're getting there. I think this week you see that it is so possible that you can finish this up and move along. So I really like this a lot. So a lot of positivity returning. Those retrograde planets, forget about it. You're doing really good here. Just keep your eye on your budget. It's very important, especially with Mercury retrograde in Taurus. These kind of things this month, it's important to know that you just focus on your security. Don't go out on a wild spending spree, that type of thing. Now, there are all kinds of choices being made this month, and these choices affect some of your closest personal relationships. They also affect things of the nature, I want to say, like in with authority figures. A lot of you're coming to the close of a school year, and you're looking at possibly new schools for your children for next year. It's that type of thing. So, that type of established place like a school, whether you want to relocate your children to a new school, yourself to a new home, a new job, all these things that are going on. So your focus is on them this month. You may not necessarily be making that move at this time, because I don't think that would be advisable, but there's certainly some choices being given some thought right now, because some changes need to be made that are more creative, that give you the power that you need in your life so that you can have a new beginning that works for you. I like that. Now, keep in mind, being as we have authority figures and all going on here, if there are any kind of negotiations involved, have your details ready. Oh my God, I'm getting the chills as I say that. Oh, I wonder what it is. Oh my goodness. Because this is important. you can have great success with it if you have all of your facts in order. So don't miss anything. If you got to stay up late to get everything together, especially with Mercury, you can get a little bit confused. So make sure you have everything right. That old dot your I's, cross your T's. Make sure everything is perfect that you put down on paper so that there's no backtracking later because there was an error. Yeah, very, very good. Huge success for you coming. And this is how your new beginning is all tied up in this. All right? What are you going to do? Wow. Big week. Big, big week. I'm saying week. This is month. I'm thinking weekly. For some reason, I feel like it's coming soon. Maybe that's why. It has to be, I feel like, within the first half of the month. Because I said the new moon was on the 6th. And it feels like the action is being initiated around that time frame. So pardon me if I keep saying week, 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 because I feel like what you get done there in the beginning of the month is very important to you. Now, for those of you with actual legal matters, you may finally hear from your lawyer, your realtor, anything of that nature that requires you to sign something. And that could be anything. It could even just be a businessman, and perhaps you're selling something. It doesn't have to be a piece of property. Could be a vehicle. Could be anything. So there's some movement, some fast-paced movement here that allows you to move on to the next chapter by taking care of all these things. But there's definitely, for many of you, some form of like piece of paper being signed and having someone involved. Here again, it's, the authority figure. Okay? No other way to put it, because it can apply to so many things. Whatever change it is you're looking to affect in your life, know that you're working on, balancing things out and restoring fairness. I like this because I think everyone's pretty much a little bit tired, but a little bit of renewed energy as well, because you're like, oh, I can do this, and I like that. There's a great deal of emphasis here about being fair to all parties involved. Now, in order to achieve this balance, it feels like some days your mind is just going to be going a mile a minute, and it's going to be really important to maintain clarity, which, as we know, is not always easy with a Mercury retrograde. So, but a lot of energy being put into this. So I really like this because it shows me that while you're going along, all of a sudden you can have some rapid developments take place, and you're going to be like, okay, and then whatever it is, let's say if there's property that needs to be divvied up, something that needs to be done, all that's going to be handled. Everybody's going to get their share. If that's the case, everything's going to happen that needs to happen. So this is important, and it has a feeling that it somehow applies to all of you in some way. All right, not necessarily in a legal fashion, but it will restore some much needed balance to your life. Now, feeling like you're experiencing a rebirth. Wow. Okay. How is it possible? See, the month starts with, some wishes coming in, some things happening. What have you been hoping for? And you're starting to see, as the month progresses, things coming to fruition. Yeah. Interesting indeed. So, a lot of choice taking place, and it's nice to be able to have choices finally. All right, and I think you feel like you can, but also, being practical about them, practical and realistic, very important here, because I've noticed that many of you are changing your thought processes, and how you would normally have dealt with something before, you're not going to deal with it the same way now. So there's a little more moderation being practiced. I also, have a little bit of a concern that one of these retrogrades is going to throw up a health issue. And it just seems like it's asking you to look at it. All right. And I think I mentioned this on one of the other audios that I did recently as well. So remember, You might need to take a time out. You might need to relax once in a while. You know, just taking it easy seems to be important here. And also, if you're into meditating, I personally am horrible at it, okay? Do not meditate at all. But you need some review time, all right? There will still be, even as the month ends, there'll still be retrograde planets. So there's things that you need to review, I think, as a result of the changes that have occurred this month. So keep that in mind, because, this isn't a process where you make these decisions and you're done and that's it and you just go on to the new life and never think about it again. There's plenty to consider here, indeed. Now, very important during this time, especially during a time period while Mercury's retrograde, okay, through the 22nd and even beyond, I'd say this entire month, to be as methodical as possible, constantly keep things backed up, constantly keep things, more routine without throwing in anything new. And that's kind of hard, isn't it? Sometimes when you have new things come up that change things. Very interesting. Now, there are, for many of you, going to be, wow, it runs the gamut, to be honest. I think relationships coming and going. There will be marriages, there will be divorces. It all sounds normal, but it's not. It's bigger than the way it looks. There's a sense of finally in this, because everybody's happiness is tied up in it. So some people are going to be happier when they get divorced. Others are going to be happier when they get married. Yeah, that's the one thing. It's always said not to marry during a Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I don't know. I personally am like, if there's another time, it's a good idea to stay away from it. Yeah, but, there's also, for some, this goes into relationships, the things that you have to eliminate, I think, this month to balance life out. And so there's loss here, but the loss comes with a great deal of wisdom. Remember that, okay? So I think there's a whole new understanding, whereas before, had this happened to you last year, the year before, even 10 years ago, you'd have probably been devastated by the loss. Now, I think what you feel the most is the time that you had tied up in whatever you're mourning. It's that type of a thing, but it's not a bad thing, all right, because this is good for you that it's done. And now you can move your vision toward the future. I mean, we're talking like a real new beginning here, like a carefree new beginning. It's coming, and I have to say, if it doesn't 100% happen in the month of May, because I still really feel that you're not going to see it so much until you get to like that very, very end of June, the first week in July. I like the date of July the 7th, and I don't know what that is or why. I just feel that it's an important day. Somewhere within that first week, there are some really good things happening, and that's been on my radar for a long time. So we'll see what's up with that. Now, these new beginnings, it's really kind of just synchronistic, the whole thing. There's a lot of info coming your way. A lot of messages. Oh my goodness. The information that comes to you this month, pay attention very close, all right? This information will help you reach your goals. And it's kind of like, it allows you to release physical, emotional, mental. There's so much here, just so much here. And one of the things that I really truly like is that, where you felt powerless with the hard times, you're really working on cutting yourself free from that this month, eliminating it. So you've made a lot of progress, and things that are taking place that have happened, let's say by the end of April, the beginning of this month of May, and all of a sudden, here's the thing. Many of you, when I say this to you, don't often get it. But I think that you will be now during this month. That, wow, I am good on my own. I am okay alone. I am good. I am me. I am worth it. There's so much here, so doing things alone won't feel so bad, all right? Because I really think that there is a promise of more that's coming. And I had already gone ahead and put the extra cards down a few minutes ago while I was talking. But, I have to say, there's, increased opportunities that are coming your way. And it's the whole hanging in there, because you will get to the big transition. See, that's what I think is coming when you get to that first week in July. And you need to get to this totally new part. So all of this that's going on right now is kind of cleaning up some old things, starting some new things, but working your way toward the part that's just so unknown that you really don't know what's out there. But I don't think you'll be as scared of it by the time you get there. I think you will embrace it and absolutely love whatever's coming. So, I don't know if we really talked about love. I don't know if we really talked about finance. It's not, I did mention marriages and things. It's not the month for new endeavors, okay? So new people coming into your life, I wouldn't start a relationship with them of any type, all right? Same thing with new jobs. If you don't have to take it, don't. If you do, then go ahead. You're going to have to start your job search again later, probably. Okay, so this is all about the changes that are happening very close to you with things that you've been trying to get done for quite some time. So you're going to see a lot of progress this month. And I think that ultimately impacts love and finance. But very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Just remember through all of this, everyone, to take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. All right. I want to thank you all for listening. And I'll see you here again in June. June. Oh my. Have a good one, everyone.